game I'm going to talk about, we already know. We've mentioned it before and you're interested to hear what I say. And then every week I always go, I haven't got much to say about this. This will be a short one. And then when I look at the podcast after it's finished, it's like, wow, the heck did I get 12 minutes out of that? But this one I think will be a bit shorter because it is a short game. It's called A Short Hike, and it's called, it's shorts in the title for various reasons. And the kind of graphical style, if you haven't seen this, it's like Greg said, at the price it's asking, it's about a $5 on the Switch eShop there. The price it's asking, it's whether or not I can talk positively enough about this game that looks basically like an old DS game. It's got those very chunky pixels, but if you saw it running, yes, those, it's like an anti-aliasing thing, where, those jaggy edges are ever present. But there's a lot of detail in the textures that are actually in those pixels. So it is doing something that the DS obviously couldn't do, but it is going for that aesthetic. There is something which I never changed in the options as well. If you go in the options, you can choose how chunky you want the graphics, how chunky you want those pixels. And when you do go into the options, it's set at the maximum chunkiness. So I thought, I'm going to stay with that. It's a chunky game. You can kind of smooth, I suppose it's like a GBA filter or whatever we used to have on those Wii U virtual console games. You can smooth those pixely edges to some degree, but I'm not too sure how much. But I did like the kind of style they were going for. I know a lot of people were quite down on it and thinking, oh, why am I going back to something looking like that? So you start at the bottom of this mountain and you talk to your aunt, who is a ranger of the mountain, so she knows all about it. And she says, hey, it's time, you're Claire, by the way, it's time you walk all the way up and hike your way to the top of this mountain. You're old enough now, off you go. And you're kind of a bit of a recluse and kind of locked yourself away in the log cabin for a bit too long. So you decide, okay, let's do it. And that's where your kind of adventure starts. And the first thing that strikes you is that this is an open world. You can go anywhere on this mountain as long as you can get there. And you kind of feel a little bit restricted, first of all, because there's not so many places you can go because of the restriction I'll talk about later. So you're walking along the path, and as you come to a person, you just press A and have a chat with them. And it's a very chatty game. When you initiate a conversation with anybody you talk to, there'll be quite a few dialogue boxes to get through. And these dialogue boxes, it could be something as simple as just someone telling you, what they're up to. Oh, I'm up to this. What are you up to? And then you answer, and blah, 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 and then you move on and carry on. If you go back to that same person and initiate a conversation again, they will continue that conversation on. They won't not after a while. You do it 3 or 4 times, they'll repeat what they've said. But during the initial kind of 2 or 3 times of going up to somebody, the conversation will be totally fluid, and something different every time. So this kind of game lives or dies by how much you're willing to learn about the inhabitants of this island and this mountainous island. And as you're going through as well, some of the inhabitants will ask you to do tasks for them. So this is where the open world kind of comes in. Like the first one, I think the first task you'll come across is this rather curt, very young girl on the beach. And I'm saying girl, they're all animals here, so she's a bird. Telling you, I want you to collect 15 shells for me. And I'm not going to take 12 shells, I want 15 shells. Get me 15 shells. There's, no reward offered or anything, but as you're going around, you're finding shells and you're picking them up as you're going along anyway and putting them in your inventory, which is hit the X button and it brings up this inventory, and then you can scroll through what item you want to use. You end up picking up 15 shells through your playthrough, and then you go back to her and she's like, yeah, thanks, and gives you a bit of money. You're stacking up money, basically. There's money strewn throughout this island. People have dropped money on paths, and as you're going along, you're picking money up in dollars. It's counted as. And there's some treasure chests as well, little chests you open up. Later on, you manage to hoodwink a frog who's laying on one of the beaches to swap his shovel for a plastic, basically a kind of sandcastle spade. little tiny things. So you get a proper shovel, so now you can dig in spots that have an X there. And you're working your way around this island, trying to collect enough money to basically, the kind of end goal of the game is to get to the top of the mountain. Now, to get to the top of the mountain requires stamina. Very similar to this kind of, like I said, Breath of the Wild open world kind of game. Your stamina, though, is basically in form of golden feathers. Now, it's possible to get some golden feathers by just finding them in treasure chests dotted around the island. It's also possible to buy them from I at least saw 2 characters I could buy them from. One character sells out very quickly, so you just get enough to get to the next kind of section of the map. And another character then requires more coins, so as you getting coins and going back and getting a feather, it'll enable you to get that little bit further and extra height on the mountain. You won't get to the top of the mountain until you've got about, I reckon, 10 golden feathers, and you start with 0. But you can also get golden feathers by completing tasks for people. So it doesn't tell you who's going to give you a golden feather, but just going around and talking to people, fishing, playing a game on one of the beaches called volley stickball, which is basically volleyball, but hitting it with sticks. You find a stick, you hit this ball back and forward 20 times without it hitting the floor. Hey, you get a golden feather for that. So it doesn't tell you in advance what you get golden feathers for, but just go and talk to people and interact with them. And what I did like about the game is its open world field. There's no map here. You kind of have to learn, because the map isn't extensively big, but it's big enough that you're going to be seeing new locations and vistas about an hour and a half still into the game. And like I said, this is a small game. I think I finished it in about 2 hours. But finished as in I got to the top of the mountain. Not finished as in I found the watch for that rat mouse kind of character who said I've lost my watch. Not finished in when you get to the top of the mountain, it opens up another mechanic of soaring. Yes, you can fly and flutter with your stamina across areas, but now these thermal updrafts start appearing around the island so you can get to different locations. It also opens up, once you finish a new location called the Orange Islands, where you have access to a boat, which I've seen in trailers as well. I haven't even used the boat yet. So yes, I've seen the end credits roll, but I believe that dropping into this game for another 2 hours, I'll find things to keep me occupied on the island and to do it, and I probably will. It's very take your own time, take it steady, take it easy. There's not really much going on in terms of kind of different mechanics throughout the game, but it's a delightful little island to potter around on. I don't know if that sold it to you, boys.
I don't know, I'd be up for a 2 or 3 hour adventure. Yeah, it does. I do like the art style. I think what they've captured is quite nice. So maybe I'll think about it. How much did you pay for it?
I paid full. There was a discount.
There was,
when,
10%,
like a
or
pre-order
15%,
discount, wasn't it? 10%.
Yeah.
So
it was
£4,
just wasn't
under
it? I think
£5. Yeah, just under something like that. £4 something.
Maybe, yeah. Just fancy something new and fresh. Might get it just to stick on for a couple of hours. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. Greg.
I'm still on the fence. I don't know if you really sold it. It's all like pottering around. It's not. I didn't really sell it.
It's not a game with a goal, It's not a game that says, go and do this. It's a game where you make your own goal. The only goal is basically get to that top of the mountain. But like I said, once you got to the top of the mountain, that's kind of opening up other mechanics for you to, like I said, potter around some more.
Yeah, the one thing that did, come to mind there, just when you were in part of your earlier discussion about it there, was about the characters having more than one thing to say, and I was kind of thinking, trying to wonder if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I know there's games I've played where I can't think of any examples exactly, but I know if you talk to a character, then nothing happens maybe, and then you talk to them a second time, then it will trigger something which like they'll say something that actually is important and makes something happen. And I don't like the thought of having to just repeatedly keep talking to a character in case they say something.
Just in case, yeah. And what I will say is that never occurred. If they did have something important to say where they have a task for you to do, they do it in the first one. If you went back and talked to them again, then they basically give you some incidental kind of additional conversation.
Yeah. It's definitely a tricky balance, because like,
Yeah.
if you keep going up to a character and they keep just saying the exact same line over and over again, like, it's obviously very immersion breaking. Yeah, that I'm glad you cleared that up, because that sounds okay then.
Good. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.